You ever use an app and just think, man, if only it could do this one more thing? Well, it turns out that one simple thought can pull back the curtain on the entire hidden world of code, business, and even law that's running behind your screen. And it all starts with a wish. This one, from a user on Reddit, is from a competitive singer who just needs to loop a tiny piece of a song to practice. It's a feeling we've all had, right? When our favorite tools are so close to being perfect, but they're just not quite there. So, how would you actually solve this problem? This simple wish? Well, that's our way in. Let's follow the thread and see just how deep the rabbit hole goes and uncover the invisible machinery that powers our digital lives. Okay, so when an app doesn't have a feature you need, you can't just add it yourself. But what if you could control the app from the outside? What if you could write a little script that acts like a puppet master, telling the app exactly what to do by mimicking your own taps and swipes? Well, that technique has a name. It's called UI automation. And it's a really powerful way to make an application do things it was never built to do. See, instead of trying to talk to the app's brain, you're just controlling its hands, telling it exactly where to touch the screen, one move at a time. So you basically have two paths you can take here. For simple stuff, you can use these friendly no-code tools right on your phone to build little routines. But for the really complex, reliable control, the pros turn to powerful frameworks like Appium so they can write super detailed scripts from a computer. So let's check out that professional toolkit. We're going to focus on Appium, which is pretty much the industry standard. It's an open source tool that developers use all the time to automate mobile apps, not just for testing their own stuff, but for clever workarounds, just like the one we're talking about. Writing a script like this really boils down to four main steps. First, you inspect the app's interface, kind of like looking at a blueprint. Second, you find the unique digital address for every button you need to press. Think of it like a mailing address for that button. Third, you write the actual code that tells Appium to press those buttons in the right order. But then you hit step 4, and this is the killer. How does the script know when that little piece of music is done playing? That's where things get really, really tricky. And this is the part where it all can fall apart. This kind of automation is incredibly fragile. A simple app update could change a button's ID, and poof, your script is broken. A random pop-up ad could throw the whole thing off course. And here's the biggest issue. Appium is basically deaf. It can't hear the audio. It has to guess that the clip is over by trying to spot some tiny visual change on the screen, which is, just not a reliable way to do things. So, we've seen how to control an app from the outside, but what about the app itself? To really get that, we need to zoom in a little and look at the actual building blocks, the programming languages that bring the whole thing to life in the first place. This does a great job of showing the two different worlds of code we're dealing with. On one side, you've got a language like Python, which is perfect for writing our automation script. That's the puppet master pulling the strings. But on the other side, you've got a language like Swift, which is what Apple uses to actually build the app. That's the code that creates the puppet, that defines how its joints move, and sets all the rules. All right, we've gone from a simple wish down into the code that controls the app, and the code that builds the app. Now it's time to zoom all the way out to the biggest picture of all, the business decisions and the legal rules that govern this entire world. And this is the key question, isn't it? Just because you have the technical skills to make an app do something, that doesn't automatically mean it's a good idea. This is where code smacks right into the real world of business strategy and, yep, the law. To understand the business side of things, you need to know about something called the tech stack. The easiest way to think of it is like a recipe. It's the full list of all the ingredients, the programming languages, the databases, the tools that a company chooses to build their product with. And that choice has huge consequences down the line. So why wasn't our song looping feature in the app to begin with? It is almost never an oversight. It's a business decision. Maybe they had to launch fast to beat a competitor. Maybe their team's tech stack made that feature way too hard to build. Or, and this is the most common reason, just not enough users asked for it to make the cost of building and maintaining it worthwhile. But it's not just about business. When you use an app, you click agree on a contract, the terms of service. And trying to manipulate that app with an outside script could very well mean you're breaking the rules of that contract. And we're not just talking about theoretical risks here. By running a script, you could be in direct breach of the contract you agreed to. That's the terms of service. If your script ends up saving a copy of the song, that could be seen as copyright infringement. And if you're getting around any kind of copy protection, You could even get into trouble with laws like the DMCA. Okay, let's be real. For a simple script you're just running for yourself, a lawsuit is super unlikely. It's kind of a legal gray area. But the biggest, most immediate risk is very, very clear. The company can just terminate your account. They can ban you from the service for breaking their rules. Which brings us all the way back to the beginning. After going through UI automation, tech stacks, and contract law, what's actually the smartest way to loop that music? You know, a lot of the time, it's the simplest one. If the service lets you download the audio, just do that. Then you can use any old music player that has a looping feature built in. No code, no scripts, and zero risk. And all of this leaves us with a final, much bigger question to think about. We started with a simple wish for a feature, but that journey showed us that trying to force a feature to exist pushes right up against the boundaries of how we're supposed to use our own digital tools. It really makes you wonder, when we use an app, at what point do we stop being just a user and maybe start becoming a creator?